Okay, guys, this is take number 2. What it is, it's your girl Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm gonna draw my life prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before it all fades to black. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. So, anyways, I got interrupted by Marcello calling, so now I'm back at it. We are listening to Sunstar, which is Daystar, aka Tory Lanez father. Um, we're listening to the rest of his press conference after his son was poked in prison. That don't even sound right, but that's the way we gotta say this online. That sounds crazy. But we're listening to that, and we are drawing Mr. Richard Taylor, a content creator and spoken word artist and an author. Girl, I'm gonna have to get his book. Maybe I get it for my birthday, because girl, my finances are going to bed right now. But maybe I can get somebody to pick that book up for me for my birthday, girl, because it's coming up next month. All right, so we're gonna finish working on him. I do have part 1 of drawing Richard Taylor in the description box. And we're going to continue listening to this video, and then we're going to get into the wrongful conviction story. Well, not conviction, I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying wrongful convictions because I cover wrongful convictions. But I'm trying to say the wrongful accusation, wrongfully accused. So not everybody that's wrongfully accused is actually convicted. So praise be to God, he was not convicted wrongfully. All right. Let me get into it. The reason why I cover wrongful convictions is because this is a situation that hit my family personally. My husband has been wrongfully incarcerated now for 23 years. I have been with him since 2000, and I have been fighting since 2001 when he was wrongfully arrested. So that's about 24 years fighting. We just want him home, but at this point, he has a wrongful conviction and sentenced to 40 years. He's 23 years in, and now we are visiting, as you heard in the last video, we're visiting with our grandchildren now. And we raised our daughter through prison visits due to this wrongful conviction. All right, I am an artist. I am legally blind. I'm gradually losing my eyesight, and I just want my husband, I want to see him come home through them gates before, it all fades to black. That's what I mean by that. Oh, that rhyming, I wasn't even trying, girl. But okay, let's finish listening to Sunstar, which is Tory Lanez's dad. I hope I didn't get that wrong, because one of them is named Daystar. I believe that is Tory Lanez's name, Daystar, and his father is named Sunstar. Let's finish listening to that video, and I'm going to continue to draw Richard Taylor.
I'm not holding any animosity against this guy. I don't want to take any action against him. Whatever the system does, the system does. But that is his stance, and that is our stance. Might I go a little bit further? Because this will not be the first time I've said this publicly. I bear Megan Thee Stallion no ought at all. In fact, we have prayed for her on many occasions in our times of prayer. So this monster that Alex Spiro tried to create, and when I stood in the courtroom on that day and heard a corrupt prosecutor dismiss the fact that so many people, it was overwhelming the amount of people that sent letters to their office and were called to testify before the courts as they were considering sentence, which had already been decided, and the judge blatantly showed on that date that it really didn't matter what anybody said. It was supposed to be a forum in which it would be decided based on all the extenuating circumstances, etc. But it had already been decided behind closed doors. It's so funny.
can't see his picture. It's so
in the
little.
press or on the blogs. I'm not even going to call her name right now, but those who know. Everything that has to do with Tory Lanez, I believe that she is in some way compensated to spread these narratives. And so before the sentence was read in court, she already knew. That's really interesting to me. She already knew because she had discussed it with others, not knowing that it would come back to us. God is my witness. So moving right along, Daystar
Trying to get the eye in the right spot.
did not suffer superficial wounds. He was stabbed 14 times, 5 times in his back, 1 under his left cheekbone. In fact, his jaw was open. He was stabbed twice in the back of his head.
Wow.
And the rest in his torso, arms, and in his
They
chest.
did not even make it sound like it was that
It may
bad.
seem sensational, but thankfully, like Dr. King, it was close to his heart but did not penetrate. After that, he was being rushed to a facility nearby in a vehicle in which he said, and I quote, "Dad, I thought it was my last. And having made my peace with God, I said, okay, God, is this how it's supposed to end for me?" And God said, no. God told him, do not give up. In the car, upon which he turned to the attending officers and he said, you must get me to wherever is the closest place that I can get to. I'm bleeding out here. My boat, he didn't even know his lungs had collapsed. All he knows is that he couldn't breathe. He could hardly speak. Upon which the officer turned around and looked at him and said, now, we got to take him. He has to be airlifted. And thankfully, to God be the glory, he was airlifted. I want to report to you that I am very thankful to all of the attending nurses, doctors in that facility. They have done an amazing job in their professional capacity. I would also like to publicly say thank you to the COs, the correctional officers that we have seen around him. In fact, these guys have been nothing but kind to him. The system is one thing, but guess what?
I'm doing the brown line. There is a video that Richard Taylor House Publishing has out about commenting to someone saying he has no eyebrows. And said if you see him one day with eyebrows, you know, don't even say anything. Girl, I was finna Photoshop him some eyebrows. I'll probably do it a little bit later because I ain't been working on my Photoshop. But I'm gonna draw him a little bit of eyebrows on here. You gonna have some eyebrows, Mr. Taylor, don't worry.
People who work in the system, and some of them still have hearts. Some of them still have a conscience. So as I'm winding down today, I would like to report to all of you who care about Daystar Peterson, the artist Tory Lanez, around the world. The reports in the hospital is that he is doing remarkably well. I was told yesterday, because they had already taken out the tubes that were draining the fluids from his lungs, they had already taken them out by the time my wife and I got there. And I was told by the nurse, in his particular condition, normally they would have had to leave those tubes in at least a couple more days. But yesterday they took him out because they said he is recovering remarkably. All that is left is for the healing of the wounds. So thank you for all the prayers that have gone up sincerely on behalf of Daystar and my family. We are truly grateful. But this is not over. So I'm reaching out to every prayer warrior around the world who knows what Christ stands for. Please continue to stand.
You know, Richard Taylor, he reminds me, he puts me in a mindset of Exhibit. Who remembers Exhibit and Pimp My Ride? Girl, that's who you kind of remind me of.
With us. As I stated before, Daystar was not drunk on that morning. It was 6:30 in the morning. It was nothing like that. It was an unprovoked attack. I don't want to go into the details of how it went, although I know them because it is too gory to be describing right now. And so as I close today, whatever has been needed to be said has been said. So as I close, I want to quote you David, the king of Israel, who said, "You lead me beside still waters and you restore my soul. You lead me in the path of righteousness for your name's sake. And even if I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." One of the officers turned to me yesterday and he said, "You would be so proud of your boy. He has been in here and he has been praying." I got there to the hospital the first day, and typical Daystar, he was entertaining those officers. They were laughing. They were just, and he said, "Dad, it only hurts to laugh." But something broke my heart yesterday. When towards the end of our visit, he said, "Dad, why is it that my life has to go through so many trials? Why? Why do I have to
I'll be feeling like that
experience
sometimes.
this?" And that's the note that I want to close on, to tell you that this person they've been trying to
You
paint as a
chosen. You gonna
monster,
go through that type of
that
stuff.
they
He
were
could
so
be chosen.
scared when all of those
Because
testimonies came in.
let's listen to he's about to come in. No, he's about to get on Meg Thee Stallion. But then after that he's gonna get into what Tory has been doing while he's been incarcerated. And that leads me to believe that he could be chosen. Like, girl, when you are chosen for a certain thing, you gonna be wrongfully accused. You gonna be paying for debts that you didn't do. The most is gonna feel like it's happening to you, and it's gonna take you so far back that you're gonna be like, why? Like, literally, why? But in the end, you realize your whole purpose. Now, for Tory, he has a 10-year sentence, which he's already started. To be honest, 10 years is not a long sentence, especially for a wrongful conviction. Most wrongful convictions are decades. It will take you decades to get out. Valentino Dixon. Why would I say his name backwards? Valentino Dixon spent 27 years before he was proven to be wrongfully incarcerated. You're going to spend some time in there. You're not just going to get out scot-free. That's why that's a miracle that Richard Taylor never went. Had he been convicted, it would have took him decades to get out of it. The least that I've heard it take was like 9 years, almost 10 years to get out of wrongful conviction. 10 years of your life you cannot get back. The longest wrongful conviction that I've heard of, which there's probably more, except for those that are post-deletion or post-mortem. Just like Marcellus Williams, boy, he had newly discovered evidence and they jumped to delete him. They didn't even play through due process. Oh my gosh, that happened last year. That story just shook my soul. That really shook my soul. Marcellus Williams. That dashed almost any hope you would have in this justice system. My God, that took it all. That took the last little bit of hope that you would have had in it, if you had any to begin with. But post-mortem, so hopefully his family and his team still pushes to prove his innocence so he can be exonerated post-mortem. And there's also those with the Malcolm X. There was some wrongfully incarcerated there. I think A couple of them were exonerated post-mortem, and one is still alive, and they took decades of these people's lives. But I was gonna say the longest one I know, the longest one is my husband. Let him go. God dog it. We were 19, 20 when this happened. I'm about to be 44. He gonna be 44 in October the 2nd. How ironic, my husband's birthday is Wrongful Conviction Day. National Wrongful Conviction Day. Now, how prophetic is that? But 42 years, Kevin Strickland did wrongfully in prison before he was exonerated. And in his state, they did not have to pay him a dime for stealing his life. So these things are hard to get out of. So for all that to say, for Tory Lanez to have 10 years and the clock didn't already started, before you know it, we gonna be covering the story of him being released, right? So the time that he's there, what is he doing? His dad's gonna get into what he's doing while he's there. I believe that's where his purpose lies. It probably wasn't his music game. Like, I pursued music. I thought I was gonna break my husband's story through music. I didn't know this industry like that. But it's an avenue possibly that I had to go down to get to my purpose, which is helping others that are wrongfully incarcerated, which I believe that could be Tory Lanez calling his purpose, and that's why he's there wrongfully. I don't know enough about his case to call it, and I don't call a case unless I know all the facts, because I know how this system works. But let's listen.
I did not even know that he had secretly done things for. This was a guy, he would do things and not even tell anybody. And one young lady called me and said, I was struggling, I was diagnosed bipolar.
Oops, sorry.
I was struggling, my children. Said your son offered to pay my rent for 1 year while I could recover. The prosecution at the trial, when all of those testimonies came in and said, oh my God, you think that we were here to hand out the Nobel Peace Prize? And that's how he dismissed it. But as I sat on the court steps that day, God records all of it. And I know that my son will have justice. I lastly would like to reach out via this medium to say to the governor of the state of California, sir, it is in your hand to do something about this. You have the power and the means to examine the evidence that has been presented even to the courts. This is a travesty of justice. And to allow my son to go back into that same situation. A kid that when he went to prison, one of the things he has done so far is through his music to open up the cases of over 467 people through his Hands of God project to help families who can't even pay for justice on behalf of.
Now, did you hear that? I'm thinking that could be why they, coming after him. They don't want that. He has the means, he has the money, he has the music to be able. They don't want you to have that much power. So if he's really opening cases that they wanted closed, do you know these cases reveal so much? It'll show how much corruption. They don't want you to see. The corruption needs to stay in the dark for this to continue, right? Cases are connected. People ain't wrongfully arrested just one-off. People aren't wrongfully convicted just one-off. The people behind it have probably wrongfully arrested many people. Wrongfully did things to many people. So it's going to open a can of worms that they don't want open. They don't want to release people from incarceration. They want more people incarcerated. And once you really know this system and how it truly works. Just think of opposite day. I don't know. Most kids say they never played opposite day. But I used to play opposite day as a kid. I don't know if I'm just old or what, but we played opposite day. And we would say, oh, you look real pretty today. Opposite day, everything's the direct opposite of what you say. And just think about the system that way. Innocent until proven guilty. Opposite day is guilty till proven innocent. You have a jury. You have the right to a jury before your peers. Opposite day, you have the right to a jury. We decide, and we're going to make sure your peers are X'd off that jury. Right? And there's many more opposite day moments within this system. And when you on trial and when you in a case, you will see all this opposite day. You have the right. Opposite day, you don't have the right. Or you have the right, but who gonna enforce your rights? Who gonna upheld? If your rights are not upheld, what is the purpose? There is no purpose in them. It's just on paper. It's just on paper.
There was a post showed up on YouTube recently. A young man saying, I'd like to thank Tory Lanez. I would like to thank Unite the People. I'd like to thank all of them for allowing me to be able to be taken off of 4 life sentences.
I wish we could just come on. At this point, we're just trying to outlive this sentence. But do you know what that would mean to somebody?
Whose lifespan is 70, 80, plus 74 years. 4 life sentences plus 74. This is who Daystar is, not what they're trying to make you think he is. He never stops seeking to help people, even from behind the prison walls.
They don't want him to do that.
Governor Newsom, you have the power to bring my son home, and for all of the reasons that went before I even ascended this podium.
Wait. Okay.
Sir,
is he trying to get medical release?
You also have children.
Is that what his dad is trying to, compassionate medical release? Is that what he's aiming for? Okay.
Please take a moment and look at your child and ask yourself what you would be doing if the evidence was so overwhelming.
Oh, baby, they don't see them as your children. They see them as your children. And they're going to do whatever they want to your children. But you can't dare do to their children.
What you need to do. God bless you all. Thank you so much for being patient with me.
Okay, guys, let's find Richard Taylor. We finna get into his. We're about to get into his story. History. Okay. The wrongful conviction of Richard Taylor. Let me go to. Why do I keep saying conviction? Oh my gosh, that just rolls off my tongue way too fast. Wrongful arrest. He was not convicted. Okay. We only gonna be a little while longer because you already know I'm bound by the margins of time. Gotta be to work soon. So can't do too much of your purpose in your life because you always gotta be to work. Like my nephew asked me yesterday, Kid, why you keep on your uniform all the time? And he was like, are you like Spider-Man? I keep it on up under my clothes. Because I'm always either getting off of work or it's time to carry my butt to work. And that's strategic too, so that you never can get to your purpose. I know many people don't see that. Honestly, what you have to do is, and then that kind of cycle matrix or whatever keeps your eyes closed and your head down to the grind. So you can focus on that. And it keeps you in that cycle. So what you really need to do is pray and ask for discernment. to know what things really are. Why am I working so much? Is it really just to keep a roof over my head, or is it to keep me distracted instead? What is the purpose in it? Because we ain't never got no money. I sure ain't got no money. It been working my whole goddamn life. I should not be this broke. None of that makes sense. To be that broke but work that hard. How does that equal? And they tell you, oh, just work hard. You can get anything you want. Just hard work and dedication. So why the heck am I barely making it? Not even check to no check. If that's all it took. Hard work and dedication. When have I not worked hard? Okay, so here we are. Being falsely accused and exonerated. Tuesday's testimony. This video, I'm going to link in the description box. It is from a while back. This is an older video, 5 years ago. But it was a good video. So let's listen to that. If it'll play my Wi-Fi going to bed. But here it is. I'm finna listen to his testimony.
Greetings. This is Richard Taylor, author of Brushes with Death, and also the author of Wrongfully Accused, Rightfully Acquitted. I'm here with another Tuesday testimony. This Tuesday testimony, I'm going to get right into it, is about being wrongfully accused, rightfully acquitted. This testimony is the
That's for all of y'all that tell me every day that they don't wrongfully accuse, they don't arrest the wrong person, they don't convict. 12 juries don't find you guilty if you ain't guilty. This is for all of y'all. Shouts out.
This book, the title pretty much says it all. This is an incident that happened in June of 2013. And a little bit of backstory about the incident where I was falsely accused of rape, kidnapping, abduction with intent to defile, assault, and a couple of other misdemeanors, and subsequently jailed and tried for all of those allegations and subsequently exonerated. But here's the testimony. At this time in my life, I was living in Norfolk, Virginia. I had just published my first book, Brushes with Death, The Blood of Jesus, which is also...
Introducing our cutting-edge Smart Zoom reading glasses, co-developed by NASA engineers.
Well, that's how he get paid, so I'm going to let the ad play. But I don't want it in my video. And when y'all go to this video, like it, subscribe, and support. That's how you support a content creator. That's the difference between a content creator that is actually able to make a living from this and the one that has to do this in the back shadows of their life, like myself. And I got the first dime off of this. It's because of those who support. Me and Marcello was having that discussion yesterday. It's never about you and your talent and your gifts. You can't do anything without the support of someone else, of others. Nobody that is successful, not one, was successful on their own, in their own doing, reached success. Nobody. They all reached it with support from others. So until you get support from others, you don't have anything. You're just doing it. And that's what my project Reach the World. Though my project Reach the World is I'm celebrating 20 years of Project Reach the World. Drawing people, telling my husband's wrongful conviction story that led to telling other people's wrongful conviction story that was basically me seeking out and looking for that one person that would actually care and be able to help us, that would listen. Because people, number one, won't listen. That's going to be your hardest part. And that's what ended up getting me to get into other people's story, was because I was like, dang, people won't even hear that people are wrongfully convicted. So how can I even advocate for him? Because nobody will hear it. So that made me know I need to start learning other stories. And when I learn other stories, I realize most of the stories are the same story, just different names and faces. Oh, here it is, and cases. And that rhymed, I wasn't trying.
She was
It's
with death, the blood of Jesus, which is also available online.
I'm gonna try not to talk. Y'all know I love
both
to
books
chime
are
in.
hard copy or whatever you like. But I had just published this book. I was also
This is not my
attending,
content. I'm
Tower
just
Community
reviewing
College in Norfolk, Virginia.
his video.
And so the staff and administration allowed me to have a book signing, a book talk in February of 2013, which was actually 3 months after I published the book, and also on my birthday, February 26th. So I was, at this time, I was promoting my book, also doing a little community work in Norfolk and also in Goldsboro, just using my testimony, the things I went through in that book to kind of inspire others, to kind of deter others from living that type of lifestyle. Anyway, I did the book signing, and it was kind of well received from the staff, administration, fellow students, and I got a lot of support. And at one particular event, I ran into an old acquaintance of mine. She was a friend of a friend who I was involved with about 10 years earlier. And we struck up a conversation. She liked some of the things that I was doing. And, we began a relationship, or a quasi-relationship. We began to pretty much mess around. It was casual at first, and then it got kind of serious. At that point in time, I was, involved. Still struggling with some issues, alcoholism and drug issues, but also I was involved with, several women at that time because of, I guess some of the things I was doing was attracting a lot of women, and that's part of why I think this happened, because God wanted me to really be living the life that I was promoting. I talked about earlier in the testimony about wearing a mask, and at this point I was still wearing a mask, claiming to be this reformed individual, claiming to be, so upstanding, but, still in when the lights go off and when nobody's looking, I was still, dipping and dabbing and indulging in a lifestyle that wasn't pleasing to God, but it also didn't line up with what I was saying out loud. So I think this was God's way of sitting me down for a moment and, getting me back to him. So in this particular case, I was with her, and, things started off fine. She would allow me to talk to other girls in front of her. But then as we began to get more close, she would start arguing and whatever. And, one particular instance, I was at her house, and it was about 2 a.m, and we had just finished engaging in sex. And, I got over her, and I got on the phone with somebody else. And this particular night, what she would normally let go, she didn't let go that night. We got into it, and, she tried to tell me to leave at 2 a.m. I'm like, I'm not leaving anywhere. And so she ended up calling the police, in which the police made me leave or whatever. So that was the end of it, because, I've been in trouble with the law. So I figured once you call the law on me, like, there's no more salvation for the relationship. But then again, about probably 2 or 3 weeks later, she called and apologized.
Went back on what he said.
Once again, I wasn't making the best decisions at this time. I got involved with her again.
That goes back to God give you those warnings before destruction. Y'all remember that video where I was reviewing, I can't remember her name right now, and she was talking about my husband's case and saying, do y'all believe that my husband was given warnings before? And you do. God gives you those warnings. God even gave me the warning before he was wrongfully incarcerated, which kind of makes me think sometimes it's my fault, because had I not dropped him off, he never would have been in the spot for him to be wrongfully arrested. Yeah, I had to make peace with that. It's like, but going against God, nudging this is why you gotta be still, because his nudging is slight. If you moving too much, you gonna miss it. It's slight. The enemy, his voice is loud. You gonna hear that everywhere. But when you're trying to follow God, it's gonna be a slight, quiet nudging. Right? So you gotta listen out and take heed.
Together. And it was just kind of off and on. It was kind of rocky. She was going through some things through her boyfriend of like 5 years. Her child's father had left her for another woman. As soon as he got out of jail, which he held him down all the time in jail. Which sending him money and taking care of him while he's in jail, and then he gets out and kind of does look dirty. And I met her at that point. She was kind of vulnerable once again.
Yeah, I said I wasn't going to talk, but he's saying too many good things. That's a fear of prison wives, because you always have that, that warning, like when they talk about medicine, but they say warning, side effects. Okay, so side effects of being a prison wife, you can hold him down his whole life, girl, and then he come home and then abandon ship. You never know. You don't know how these things work. So that is a possibility in all cases. We don't never want to see our loved one doing that to us, but it does happen, so,
My role in the situation kind of, took advantage of that situation and, kind of let her own play with her emotions, what have you. So this particular night, we get together. Once again, we engage in sex, and, an argument ensued about, a previous issue we had argued about. And at this time, I really got nasty with her. I told her some things. I really said some things. I treated her and said some things that were really ugly, really hurtful. And I've been told that I can be that way with my mouth. And, this argument was, it got kind of ugly. I called her some names. I had her, she was actually crying. And I eventually left the house. Walked off to cool off, went to the store, 7-Eleven, a 24-hour store. At this time, it's about, 2 or 3 in the morning.
Come on now.
Imagine making $453,000.
Hands are very hard to draw, y'all. I'm gonna try to take my time on this.
Sucked up to her, try to make her feel better, but, she was, still crying and things like that. So, I just told her, okay, well, I'm finna go to sleep. She was like, okay, you can go to sleep. I'll iron my clothes and get ready for work. By this time, it's like, 4 or 5 in the morning. She had to be to work at 6. So she starts ironing the clothes. I go to bed in nothing but, gym shorts and boxers. And I probably sleep for about maybe 30 minutes. So I wake up to somebody tapping me, and it's 4 police officers standing around the bed. And they, tell me to get up, Mr. Taylor. And they got me up, and I'm like, what's going on? I was like, put your hands behind your back. And I did. Of course I did it. They walked me right out of the house. Didn't put me on any clothes, just shorts. And that was it. So they took me to the back of the car. The officer, actually, the officer that had escorted me out the first time, when she called the police, was there. And he made a statement, oh, she let you come back. I was like, yes. I'm like, what's the problem? He was like, well, we're investigating a possible abduction. And I'm like, abduction? Like, I didn't do anything. He was like, what happened? I said, we had an argument, and, that's pretty much it. He said, well, I will see. So they sat me in the car. They sat me in the car, and then as I'm in the car, I see about 3
Where was she at during this time?
They run in there.
When she was
like
supposed to be
urgent
abducted?
matter, and they kept me out there for about an hour. And then the officer came back out. He didn't say anything. He just drove me to the police station. And they sat me in the police station in a cell with no shirt, no shoes, no socks, just gym shorts. Anybody been in the jail said they know how cold it is. So I'm in there like this for like 8 hours. And so they finally get me out, and they take me into an interrogation room, and they say, okay, Mr. Taylor, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. Why am I here? You tell us. Why are you here? Like, I don't know. They come back with all the psychological games they play. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, what's going on? What happened? That's what we're trying to find out. What happened? I'm like, okay. So at this point, I've been in there for 8 hours. I'm just trying to, get whatever is out. So I just tell them the beginning from the end of our 3-month relationship. 4-month relationship. I tell them all the details. Tell them what happened that night. Tell them we argued. Tell them we had sex. And when I said that, the bail officer said, okay, well, was the sex consensual? And at that point, I said, yeah. And he said, well, that's not what she says. And so at that point, I really knew that, that my world had come crashing down. At that point, I decided, I said, okay, I'm not talking anymore. I don't know what this is about, but I didn't do anything. And so they went to the
They
magistrate.
sure don't want to hear you ain't doing nothing.
She had concocted a story that I just walked through. I went into her house, busted in her house, raped her, held her hostage, and, then fell asleep, which is pretty much, if anybody, just knows it, that doesn't even make sense.
Let me do one more disclaimer. He is saying a lot of words that now in this day, this is from 5 years ago, and as the years go by, it's less and less words we can really say online. He's saying a lot of these words that we usually have different words for now. So I usually would go through, I don't edit, but don't nobody watch my videos, no way. So I'm thinking it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But I do realize he's using terminology that we don't tend to use. We'll say art or something like that, which in his follow-up, he had a video yesterday where he was on another girl's channel, and he did use all those new terminologies that we have to use because we can't say what we really want to say, girl.
The magistrate swapped the warrant. The warrants for, once again, abduction with intent to defile, kidnapping, rape, assault, and a couple of other misdemeanors. And they swapped the warrants, and they was like, okay, well, we're going to do a rape test on you, a DNA test. And at this point, my mind is turning like, how can I prove my innocence? Because we all know that when in this type of situation, it's always your word against theirs. And there have been several situations where people have been wrongfully accused of that. So at this point, my mind is turning, and I tell the police officer, I said, okay, I'll take that rape test. But the only way I would do it if you swab my ears, swab my neck, swab my chest, swab my stomach, everything. Because I remembered that during our sexual encounter, she was licking all over my ear, my neck, my chest, my stomach, and I hadn't took a shower. And so I was grateful for not taking a shower that day. So the lady obliged. She came and swabbed my penis, of course, and she swabbed my neck, all the various parts of my body that I remember that she was licking on. And then of course they took me to jail. Anybody knows about Norfolk jail? Dangerous criminals are housed on the 7th floor, and that's where they took me. They put me in a quote-unquote Crip block, which was full of Crips. I'm not any gang affiliation, but that's just where they placed me. And so, and this block was kind of small. It was about 12 guys in there. 3 of them was on trial for murder. or attempted murder. 2 of them had already got convicted. One of them had 42 years. One of them had 35 years. They were just waiting to go to prison. So everybody in that cell was hardened criminals. Like, had already did like 20. One guy did like 26 years. He was facing another 8. And so I was in there with that. And if anybody knows anything about jail culture or prison culture, when you're accused or convicted of rape, you're actually like considered the lowest of the low. You know, the guys are beat up, you know, treated badly, whatever. And so me knowing that, I knew that I couldn't really go in there and discuss my case with anybody. Really wasn't supposed to discuss your case at all because
we are going to stop right here because this video is quite long. That was another thing that I had. We're going to pick up here though. So, I have the, I'm trying to get behind the camera. That's the outline. I got to work on it a little bit more. I'm trying to give you it from the right perspective, because from that perspective, it's kind of making his face look a little fatter than it really is. So I'm going to have to play with the dimensions some, but also like when you do the shading, it kind of gives you the dimension as well. But I think it's looking pretty good. I'm not going to take too long on this one. I know on Introverted Rockstar, I took a long time because I started